Hello Aces, Ace Combat fan speaking here in the third episode of Stuff About Ace Combat. I am really happy that you guys are enjoying the series. I see the view count, I see the likes in the videos, and most important to me, the comments. I might not reply to all of them, but I do get to see all of them. And I have seen some pretty interesting discussions coming out of the comment section. Discussion about the game mechanic, aircraft, super weapons, and you know, other stuff. And I'm taking note of them. But I already have chosen the topics for the episodes 3 and 4 because I'm gonna talk about some topics that will serve as a reference for future videos. Now let's get to today's topic, the Ace Combat word, also known by the fans as Strangereal. You know, that fictitious word we all love that's full of awesome countries and places such like Erusia, Ossia, Belka, Yuktubania, and so on. And I think we all know this word very well. Or do we? What if I told you there's not only one Strangereal word, but there are actually 3 of them? Believe it or not, that's what I'm gonna talk about today. First though, let me explain how Ace Combat word got its name. It comes from the Ace Combat 4 trailer featured in the Tokyo Game Show in the year 2000. In the trailer, the caption shows the Strangereal word, where referring to Ace Combat word. However, due to the lack of space between the word strange and real, some fans assumed that was the name of the word, even though there's a comma in there. But okay, and the name became official just after Ace Combat 7's announcement, as Project Aces tweeted this. Alright, now let me tell you about the 3 versions of Stranger, but just as a heads up, this is the way I personally call them. These are not official names by any way. Strangereal 1. Strangereal 1 is the way I refer to the universe where the first games of the Ace Combat take place. That is, Air Combat, released in 1992 in the arcade versions, or in 1995 for the PlayStation version, and Air Combat 22, or 22, released in 1995 in the arcade version only. This version of Strangereal is pretty generic, and by that I mean that there's not much detail to the word. You cannot identify any city, region, country, or specific faction in this game. Instead, all it is said is that a certain country suffered a coup d'etat performed by some rebel or terrorist forces. As for a graphical representation of Strangereal 1, all you can pretty much see is a little map when choosing missions in Air Combat, and that's about it. As you can see, this is a fairly small region of the world, probably just one country, and you don't get to see the big picture. Strangereal 2. So this is where it gets tricky because not many people know about Strangereal 2. Strangereal 2 is the universe where the games of Ace Combat 2, 3, and 4 are set. And do not confuse it with the version of Strangereal in the later games because they are fairly different. Interestingly, the games mentioned earlier, they only take place in the continent of Ossia, and therefore we aren't really able to get a worldview while playing the games. So there are only 2 ways of noticing that Strangereal 2 is different compared to Strangereal 3, which is what we know as Strangereal today. The first way is by buying the Ace Combat 4 official guidebook by Famitsu, which I fortunately managed to buy when I was in Japan. Once you have the guidebook, all you need to do is look at the very first page until you see this, which is Strangereal 2 world map. As you can see, Ossia is located right in the center of the map, but it's a fairly small continent. If we take a look to its left side, we can see pretty much Asia, Africa, and Europe. Not in the same shape as in our Earth, but in a very recognizable way, with some distortions. Over Europe and Asia, we can see the continent of Enya, which is really close to Ossia. Now if we keep going to the right, we can see something that kinda looks like Alaska, the northern part of Canada with Hudson's Bay, Greenland, and Iceland on the far right. And by going south, everything seems pretty much original content except for the Great Lakes, which look pretty much the same as in our Earth. Also note that New Zealand and Antarctica, or the South Pole, look pretty much the same. Now that was the first method of knowing that Strangereal 2 and 3 are different. The second method would be by comparing the geographic coordinates between Ace Combat 4 and Ace Combat 3D. Since some missions take place in the same area, but their geographical coordinates have a difference of thousands of kilometers, which shouldn't make any sense if they're in the same world after all. Strangereal 3. As the Ace Combat series was growing in popularity, Project Aces really saw the need to create a Strangereal in a more original way after Ace Combat 4 was released. So between Ace Combat 4 and Ace Combat 5, they really did make a new Strangereal, and it is what we know as Strangereal today. I'm not gonna get into much detail on Strangereal 3 because I assume we know quite a bit about it, and for me that will be content for a future video. But I hope you enjoyed this video, as with the difference between Strangereal 1, 2 and 3. In the video description I will leave some of the links to some of the maps I used in this video. Then again, I hope you have enjoyed this video and that you learned something new about Ace Combat, which is my goal at the end of the day. So see you guys in the next episode of Stuff About Ace Combat.